Hey folks, Sam here at NA Studios. I want to show you a concept here, an idea for making the most out of instruments that you have. You may have a vast sample library of interesting instruments, but some people only have a small selection of instruments, and there's so many ways that you can make something more interesting out of these instruments, completely transform them into something that they currently aren't. So if you feel like you're currently getting a little bit stale with these samples that you have, here's a way of turning them around and making them something greater than they already are. So I'm in Logic Pro here, and I'm actually just going to use the stock sampler, and I want to choose an instrument here that doesn't have too much transient information. It's kind of a sustained instrument, and I've gone for the harp here. You can hear just a note of the harp. Okay, it's pretty nondescript. It's good for some stuff, but we're going to transform this, and we're going to do this in two ways, with reverb and by reversing this. Okay, so first of all, I'm actually going to process this slightly. I'm just going to set locators around this, and I've gone for a Neutron 4 from iZotope, and this is just for the transient shaper module. I've taken all the attack off and brought sustain all the way up. So without it, but then with it, it's far more of a sustained kind of thing. So then I'm doing two things which are essentially the same. I'm adding two instances of a reverb. Now, you want this reverb to be 100% wet, so I'm putting it on the inserts of the channel. I'm going 100% wet, and I'm just doing something fairly large, so a concert hall. And the second one is going to be exactly the same as this. So with those two applied, you get something really lengthy, something with loads of sustain to it. Remember, that's 100% wet, so no dry signal there whatsoever. Then I'm going to select this region, and I'm going to bounce it in place. Now, this may be different on the DAW that you're using, but for here, we can just do a simple bounce in place. You may want to render it out and then drag it in again. Here, I don't need to do that. So what I have here is just the harp, which has had all the transients taken out, and it's got the long sustain on it. Okay, cool. Now what I want to do is reverse this. So I'm going to double click on the region, go to File, I'm going to go to Functions and Reverse. Now if I take a listen to this, we've got a really long kind of introduction to the sound. So already we've kind of transformed that. But what we can do in Logic is we can create an instrument out of this. So I'm just going to drag this region onto the left-hand side into Quick Sampler. And then I can play this reverse reverb as an instrument. So remember, we've not got any of the dry signal in there. So we've essentially just got the reverberated sound of this sample. Now you'll notice that because I had the region fairly long, we've got a fairly long intro to this. So we can drag this up and make it whatever we want. If I bring on my keyboard, we can make it so that it's far less of an intro. And then what you can do is bring that into a track. You can do whatever you want with it. You can arpeggiate it. You can play it in real time as an instrument. You can just be a bit more creative with this sound, which we've now completely flipped on its head. Previously, it had a fairly substantial attack, that initial transient, and then after that, it kind of just decayed, and it was a little bit uninteresting. But now, by using that reverb and reversing, once we've had that reverb applied, we can create something that is far more interesting. Take a listen to this when I've put it in a track. I've just popped an arpeggiator on it. I've put it in the key of F minor and just put a chord on this and put it over some bass, some drums, and an 808, and just hear the difference. So this will be the original harp sound arpeggiated. And now here it is in a track with that reverse sound and the reverb. It's a great way of just adding some more interest to the sound library you already have. Think about reversing stuff. Think about adding reverb and then reversing stuff. You can take something that has just an initial hard attack and then a sustain, and you can completely flip that on its head using reverb beforehand, take all that attack off and turn it into a completely different instrument that's going to work in a different way. Thanks for checking it out. I'll see you again soon. Take care.